And welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Bubba and the Bloom, episode 170. We're here to do some last-ditch streamers as we are on the final week and a half of the baseball season. On Thursday night, we'll have your final fab preview as usual. We're here to get you some potential streamers along the way for your daily leagues, if you're in your head-to-head championship weeks, all that kind of fun stuff, and see where it can get you to the promised land, hopefully. But we'll talk some recent news and more. But first off, you can find me on Twitter at BDintric, the podcast at Bubba BloomPod, and my co-host, as always, on Twitter at RyanBHQ. Ryan Bloomfield, how we doing, my friend?
We are riding this roller coaster that is the last 2 weeks of the season. It's already been wild, as anyone who streamed Reed Detmers would know, against the White Sox, who all of a sudden turned into a 3-game winning streak in one of the league's best teams, at least until Griffin Canning tonight shut him back down. I'm riding the Bobby Miller train that derailed. I thought, a 2-step with Miami and Colorado, I thought that would work out. It didn't. So I'm just going with all, like we said last time, the ebbs and flows of these last 2 weeks. It's pretty wild. We've got Kevin in the chat already saying Matt Festa, not David, got another win. So aloha, Kevin. We got Michael in the chat, ready to go here. Last ditch streamers. It's about all we can talk about in 2024 at this point.
Yeah, we will have plenty of 2025. We were actually kind of brainstorming before the show of what will already be kicking off for you guys the second the season ends. But we will get you to the finish line, as always, as we do on this show. And we'll have some fun along the way. So before we get to that, a little bit of recent news for you guys. Again, a lot of it's just if it's on the aisle, drop them type situations. This one's a little different, Ryan. Francisco Lindor. He's had back issues off and on for about a week, had an MRI, came back clean. This is where it got fun. Initially, they said he'll be out 3 to 5 games. Then they interviewed Lindor. Lindor says 3 to 5 games, 2 to 3 games. I hope to be back by the end of the season. Just depends on when the back feels better. So this is one of those where it's tough to drop him, but I don't think we're going to see a whole lot of Lindor the rest of the way.
Yeah, I don't either, and it's brutal for good, because this is a horse that got you there, and to have Lindor on your bench is tough. Although we did have his replacement, little Acuna.
We have an Acuna to finish the season. That's always a plus.
Yeah, not the one we thought, but Luis Angel Acuna homered this evening and started 2 of the 4 games for Lindor. But yeah, if you have Lindor, I don't think you drop him. I think you try and hold as much as you can and just hope that it is 3 to 5 days and you can get him in your lineup that last week, because the Mets do need him. I mean, the Mets are in a dogfight right now for the wild card with the Braves. I think they're 2 games up on the Braves right now. But I feel like if Lindor is even 60, 75%, he's probably going to try and give it a go. And I think the Mets will let him. Which is going to be another theme of our show tonight, is looking at the standings and which teams have things to play for and which teams don't. So wait it out with Lindor and just hope we get him back next week.
Yeah, and a shout out to Acuna. We'll talk about him on Thursday night for sure, but I picked him up in a few leagues for $1 this past week, especially 15 teamers.
Whoa, you did? Wow.
Yeah, I'm not starting him everywhere. What I picked him up for was leagues I had, like Tyler Fitzgerald at shortstop. Didn't know if he would be playing. Guys that were hurt, I was kind of covering my bases. Then, of course, Fitzgerald comes back, so I put Fitzgerald in. In reality, Acuna might have been the play. Go figure. But I brought him as a safety net that might get put into play this weekend if he continues to play the way he's playing. But I think he'll be a fun fab discussion on Thursday night, especially with Lindor still waiting in the wings, and you could spend some money on Acuna, and then Lindor comes back and ruins it all. So it's
exactly
it's that time of the year, folks. It's that time. So
you will pull the hair that you don't have out of your head when you start Acuna on Friday, and then Lindor returns on Saturday and doesn't miss another game. But that's baseball these last 2 weeks.
Yep, and a lot of that. And Stephen Kwan is another one of those. Now, given if you read my Substack and listen to other things, I said you should sit Stephen Kwan this week, at least to start the week, because Kwan has missed 4 games with body fatigue. And then on Tuesday, he hit the IL with body fatigue. The Guardians are pretty much locked into the postseason. Like, they have a 4-game lead in the Central. They're locked into the wild card. They need Kwan to lead off in the start of October. They don't really care right now if Stephen Kwan's there. It's a retroactive deal, so he can come back next week. I don't think we see him until maybe next weekend at best. So I'm dropping Stephen Kwan now he's officially on the IL. What's your thoughts on this, though? Because he could legit come back, early next week.
I think we do. I mean, if he can come back, he will, just to get some reps before the postseason. You don't want to go in totally cold. But so yeah, it's a questionable drop. I probably would with Quan and just again, plate appearances at this point are everything. And speaking of plate appearances, we do have Angel Martinez, who was called up from AAA and is leading off, at least against right-handed pitching, for Cleveland. Has a few hits already. Good K rate. Not a ton of power, but a few steals. So like I think Angel Martinez, if you're looking for replacements or whatever in the middle infield, in the outfield, you're gonna get you're at least going to get plate appearances, which is all we can kind of ask for through this week.
Yep, most definitely. So something to keep an eye on there for streaming purposes, at least in a potential ad next week. Pittsburgh Pirates, they continue to give young players chances this year. I'll give them that much. They've been moving and shaking some players, and they called up prospect Nick York from AAA on Monday. He got the start, went over, but on Tuesday, picked up 3 hits, went 3 for 4 on Tuesday. He was the first-round pick back in 2020, which is big boy stuff, and at AAA this year, hitting .355, 2 homers and 7 steals over 40 games, hit .310 over 38 games at AAA with Boston. He came over in a trade with the Red Sox this year. So what's your thoughts on New York going into the final week or so?
Yeah, York did look good tonight. I was sweating out the Lance Lynn start, like literally sweating it with Lance. Well,
yes, I'm with you, brother.
Well, he pitched. Actually, we did have a Lance Lynn versus Rowdy, a couple of plate appearances tonight.
And the earth stood still.
The earth did stand still. Lance Lynn came through as a streamer. But yeah, Nick York did look good tonight. A lot of contact at those hits, and I mean, you laid out, Bubba, the numbers at AAA. I think, I mean, for the Pirates, it's like, do they keep playing? So they moved Nick Gonzalez over to shortstop, and York plays second. Like the Pirates can't play IKF and not Nick York. Like they need to see what they have. And like you said, Pittsburgh has been aggressive with a lot of their top prospects this year. So I expect Nick York to play pretty much every day. Just get that cup of coffee and get ready for next year. So I'm trying to think, like, would you take Acuna or Nick York if you need a middle infield guy? I mean, it's like an impossible question, but I'm just trying to frame it around other options.
I'm going to go with Acuna and pray he plays more often than not. But if you want guaranteed at bats, it's going to be York. But I'll take Acuna's skill set.
All right. Yeah, it's impossible to answer. That's why I asked you. I don't know.
I appreciate it. Arizona Diamondbacks, they've had a couple of roster moves over the last few days. Paul Sewald hit the IL. Gabriel Moreno got activated. The next day, Scott McGuff gets called up. Adrian Del Castillo goes back to AAA since Moreno's back and taking over the starting catching duties there. Not just a whole lot to go off of here, but just beware. Castillo's done for the season, and most likely Moreno's up, and we roll with it.
And listen to Bubba. Like I always say, don't listen to me. Listen to Bubba. You've been pounding that drum for a while, at least on the last 2 Thursday shows. Yeah. It's like Gabby's coming back. So
drop him.
Thank you for your service, Adrian Del Castillo. He was awfully productive for the majority of his stay. But yeah, it sucks. It does suck if you have him in your lineup this week, because it was, I don't want to say out of the blue again if you listen to Bubba. But yeah, tough ending for ADLC.
It was kind of out of the blue because, like, on Sunday when Moreno got activated, they said they're going to split duties. So you kind of got bamboozled.
Yeah, you're right. I was a little, the outright to, that was a little severe, but
the D-backs played with people's emotions on that one. So something to keep in mind as well. But I'm really, sidebar, I'm curious to see where the D-backs go with this, because Moreno hasn't been that great this year. I think we saw a skill set in Del Castillo. It's always nice to have multiple catchers on your roster for future, injuries, wear and tears, whatever. But there's a trade chip potentially in Arizona with this situation.
Yep.
And then a little bit of Toronto Blue Jays notes. Bo Bichette was activated from the IL, picked up a couple hits on Tuesday night, trying to make that comeback for the beer bet. And then
is that the O'Neill Cruz Bo Bichette?
Yes.
I think it is.
O'Neill Cruz is hurt again, though, by the way. And Dalton Varsho, I just want to hit on this one. It's not, I think most people gave up on Dalton Varsho this year. He went on the IL with a shoulder injury. They already said he's going to have rotator cuff surgery on the shoulder. so he's donezo for the rest of the season. But just a couple moving parts there in Toronto for the final week and a half of the season.
Boba Fett is 64% rostered in NFBC 12-teamers. I think if you have the money, I mean that's I think your top hitter, Ed. I think he's going to play, and it's Boba Fett. Like obviously this has been a terrible year for him, but probably mostly injury induced. And you would think he is fully healthy. You would hope at this point because what's Toronto playing for? But I would prioritize Bichette as probably one of the highest hitter targets of anyone this week, unless someone else comes along. But yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit more on Thursday.
Yeah, Bichette was out since late July, so really interesting to see how that plays out, to say the least.
And maybe he doesn't play every day. Maybe it's just get some reps and ease into it, a couple of off days. But I don't know.
Yeah, I hope he does. I hope he plays every week, every game, and just kind of for 9 games just goes, look at this is what you could have had, Bubba, but I screwed you. Yeah,
that would be the ultimate because whatever Boba Fett does his last week is most likely not on the team that drafted him unless you're in IL league. So that's just a final FU on the season.
Yep, pretty much. All right. We're going to go BloomBoard season, folks. We're going to have some fun with this one. So I'll let Ryan preface what we're going to talk about, and we'll see how far we get with some names on these lists.
Yeah, there's a bunch of names. This is somewhat of a, throw spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks. But we figured we would do one last kind of show. And again, we'll do the Thursday Fab preview like we do every week. But we figured we'd do one last kind of 2024 themed show for anyone in those kind of daily leagues, head to head, whatever. So we're going to start with pitchers. I've got a BloomBoard up here that basically looks at the highest skilled pitchers. This is just sorted by K to walk. Again, tried and true, that are under 50% owned in Fantrax leagues. And so I've got their K to walk on the BloomBoard. I've got their swinging strike rate, and I have, of course, their ball percentage. So those are the key stats that we want to look at. And then I did pull in, and side note, this is from Razzball, and this is behind their paywall, so I will give them a shout out. I am a Razzball subscriber. Rudy does an awesome job with this. If you want to use kind of downloadable tools and do all that, I highly recommend subscribing to Razzball. But I pulled, just to kind of show you all what they do, I pulled in the rest of season opponents for each of these starting pitchers, because again, the schedule is almost as important as the skills at this point. So I think we've got about 40 names here. We won't talk about every single one, but we'll just kind of go through and see which ones stand out to us that hopefully help you guys either in this last week of streaming, or if you have daily moves or whatever, you can still do it. And then we'll do hitters after that.
All righty. We'll have some fun with this. Maybe go firing through this list, but I do want to hit on the first name here, and that's Joey Cantillo, because this is a guy that I kind of just written off. It was so bad to start the season. 29% rostered in Fantrax right now. Last 30 days, got 27% K to walk, 15% swinging strike. Still a high ball rate, 39%. If you go deeper, looking at the game logs, his last 2 starts, and those he was in the minors for a bit. He's been going up and down, but he came back when Alex Cobb went down, and now Cobb's pretty much donezo. So Cantillo's thrown 12 innings, allowing 1 run and striking out 16 over the last 2 starts. That's pretty big boy stuff. So what should we be thinking with Cantillo? I know some people, I think even Ben Tidd might have picked him up for this start coming up here against Minnesota, but you got Minnesota, you got Cincinnati. So how are you feeling about Cantillo here as a potential streaming choice?
I feel like it's, if you need the Ks, you go for it. But I do think this is someone who can still wreck your ratios, just because it's the ultimate track record versus the last 2 starts. And the last 2 starts have been really good, but how good is Cantillo overall? I don't have the answer to that. But he's missing a ton of bats right now. That 15% swing strike that we see on the board, like the Ks will probably be there. Control is a little bit shaky, but you, especially for next week, if you get a home tilt against Cincinnati, I mean, that's not the worst thing in the world. So I'm kind of like lukewarm on Cantillo. If you need Ks, you go for it. But other than that, I just feel like the track record isn't there.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you. The track record scares the living daylights out of me. And the worst part's going to be is if he throws well against Minnesota, I'm like, Cincinnati starts pretty nice. Like that seems like that's worth $1. That's worth $1 next week. and it should be. Cincinnati has not been good at all. So I do like that upside, but I'm going to wait and see how this Minnesota start gets before I get too excited. And he'll be discussed on Thursday night. We'll say that much for sure. Gonna skip Tyler McGill. We talked about him plenty. He pitched well against Washington on Tuesday night. He had a 2-step this week, so he was already a popular ad to begin with. I want to head to Alec Marsh, not just because this is a guy I was heavily invested in this year, but it's been quiet because I haven't even noticed how well he's pitched of late. He's been getting more chances. Again, he went back to the minor survey. I think got recalled due to injuries. 23% K to walk over the last 30 days. 13% swinging strike with a 34% ball rate, but he's made 4 starts since August 26th, so he's on the regular rotation right now. Yep. He's gone at least 5 in his last 3. It's been 3 runs or less in every start, and we saw 11 Ks against Pittsburgh, but it's been 5 or more Ks in 3 straight starts too. So pretty serviceable stuff with Alec Marsh. So how are we feeling with his 2 matchups coming up that on paper don't look too shabby?
And didn't he? I mean, he struck out 11 in his most recent start,
Pittsburgh.
didn't he?
Yeah,
against Pittsburgh. Yep. Yeah. So, I actually picked up Alec Marsh in my biggest league 15-teamer this past week. I don't know if it'll be nice or not. We'll find out on Wednesday. He goes against not only Detroit but Tariq Skubal. So I don't know about the chances of a win there. We'll head to Washington for that final start of the season. And again, team context, Kansas City is in the middle of a wild card fight. So I would think Alec Marsh, if he's pitching well, this isn't going to be someone they just kind of pull after 4 or 5 innings if he's pitching well. So the skills all look really good for Alec Marsh. Good number of missed bats, good number of strikes thrown. So we'll see what happens on Wednesday, but I like Marsh for a stream at Washington. At Washington is, we've talked about that on the Thursday show. Like, that lineup's better than you think right now, but I still like Alec Marsh. I would take him over Cantillo.
Yes, 100%. It's like definitely take him over Cantillo. He's atop the list out of the early list we've made so far in the streaming department going forward. Patrick Corbin wasn't going to talk about him much, but at least just looking at if people see the chart, the board, the skills have been there. We've talked about that recently. The skills have been much better of late, and he streamed well last week in a 2-step. I don't like the matchups coming up, so I'll give you a second if you want to mention anything on Corbin, but I think we've kind of talked about him plenty.
It's just like cojones of steel if you roll with Patrick Corbin. It's kind of worked out over the last month, but
I had him last week in a lot of leagues, and it was one of the few things that worked out, so that was fun.
Yeah.
But he either got dropped or benched this week, and I don't like these matchups coming up at all.
Real quick, Steven in the chat says Marsh versus Detroit or Schwellenbach at Cincinnati tomorrow, or neither. I'd throw Schwellenbach.
I'd throw Schwellenbach. I wrote him up for the HQ daily matchups for Wednesday. Still like almost 26% K to walk over the last month. Cincinnati striking out a ton. I know it's Great American. That's always scary. And anything can happen in any game of baseball, as we've seen of late. Thank you, Chicago White Sox. But I'd take my chances with Schwelly. There's aces. I consider him basically a fantasy ace right now, the way he's pitching. Yep. You just pretty much start these guys. That's the way I
agreed. You ignore the at Cincinnati, and I think you just roll with it.
Yep. We're not going to talk about Mason Black. I wish him the best, but just don't do it, people.
Don't do it.
Drew Rasmussen's still only going 2 innings or less, so we move on from that. What's your thoughts on Cade Povich? 20% K to walk over the last 30 days, 12% swinging strike, 34% ball rate. Had that great start to start the 2-step against the White Sox, and then it's been rough sledding since then. Are we getting back? Are we getting back on track here for Detroit and Minnesota?
I don't know, and I know we're supposed to kind of say like yeah or no, like you guys depend on us for solid advice. Cade Povich has had 2 really awesome starts since he's gone back. Again, one of those was the White Sox, and then has looked like crap the rest of the time. So I don't really know what you do here. So you get Detroit on Saturday, which is decent, and then at Minnesota, really in weekly leagues for Fab. I just want to see Minnesota lately over the last 30 days. Where the hell are they at? They are not hitting lefties well. 296 WOBA over the last month. So I don't know. I would rank Marsh first, and then like Povich, and then Cantillo.
And they went full line shift on Monday night against the lefty. Wallner sat, Julian sat.
Yeah, Larnach.
Larnach sat. They went full line. We haven't seen that lately. Like Wallner's played lefties. These guys, no, they went full line change on Monday night. So expect that against Povich as well.
Yep.
I want to get your thoughts on Landon Knack. This is a guy you've talked about a few times throughout the last month or so as a stream. I picked him up this week to stream against Miami. I liked that matchup potentially, but Knack is also coming off 2 innings, 5 earned runs with 2 Ks against Atlanta. Looked really good at the start prior to that against Cleveland. It's really good. Not going to just try to overshadow it. Like that was really solid. But how are we feeling here? You got Miami, and then you got San Diego and at Colorado next week. So you got the 2-step next week, but a nice matchup potentially on Wednesday.
Wow, this is crazy. Jose Altuve just got tossed from a game by taking off his sock, showing it to the umpire, and then he got tossed.
Holy shit! Don't know why. His shoes off right now.
His shoes off. He is walking on the field barefoot. So I have no context for what is actually happening.
Chaos in San Diego, folks. He's probably got hit by a pitch. He's probably trying to show him the foot.
Show him the bruise.
Yeah, that's my guess.
Yeah, I don't know. So yeah, Landon Knack, I think this is all dependent on how badly you need wins. Because I do think LA, like who else are they going to throw? And it does line up to be a 2-step the final week of the season. Obviously at Miami is nice if you're still able to make moves Wednesday morning to do that. And I think the team context, LA they're starting to hit again.
They're hitting really well. Really well. Like it's not
They
good.
really are. Who would have thought that like it would be
Muncy
a rule that Max Muncy and Tommy Edman would have to homer together in every game that they play with each other. But no, I think Landon Knack, if you're desperate for wins, I think that's where you want to go. But yeah, he's been up and down, just like all these guys. I mean, this is streaming. I just think in terms of the team context, you're gonna get a guy who's, I think LA is gonna throw him 5 because LA just needs the rest of their bullpen and they don't have any other starters. So they're gonna let Knack go kind of as long as he can.
Yeah, there's all kinds of offense because of Bobby Miller, and they said that bullpen got taxed on Tuesday. And
yes,
Buehler didn't go too deep on Monday either. So you're right. Knack needs to put some innings out there in a big way. So that will be interesting. Michael C in the chat says Schwellenbach at Cincy or Clark Schmidt at Seattle.
God,
I still go Schwelly, but that's a lot tougher.
I'd still go Schwelly, but that's a tough call.
Yep, that is a tricky one for
pitched
sure.
Well, his first start back.
He definitely did. So they're showing he just took his shoe off, took his sock off, and he's trying to show him his foot. So yeah, he got hit. DJ Hurst, I don't have a whole lot to add here besides I hope you guys have paid attention all season because DJ Hurst has been ridiculous. Early in the year, I kept pumping him up, going, okay, the ERA indicators suggest he's better than this. He's got the K to walk. Okay, the K to walk regressed, but the ERA indicator started to come to life, essentially. Over the last month or so, DJ Hurst has been awesome. He's going about 5 to 6 innings every start. K to walk still close to 18%, and the ratios have been great. So I love DJ Hurst. I hope you've been playing him. And do you have anything to tell me otherwise?
Under rostered all year. Actually, it's funny. On my HQ Fab column, I got a comment last week. It was like, you have written about DJ Hurst 8 weeks in a row. The guy actually went back and looked at my columns.
That's funny.
And it's like, yeah, because he's really good and he keeps, it wasn't a complaint. It was just like this guy keeps coming up on these, under 50% things, and he's always one of the top guys. So yeah, DJ Hurst should be rostered pretty much everywhere. The Philadelphia start next Sunday. On paper, that sounds rough, but
I think it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, I think it's going to be. Yeah, it's probably not. They will have their hangover by then, but it's Sunday, so they're not going to play their full team.
No, that's going to be a glorious day, and the opposing pitching matchup probably won't be too tough either. So I love that one as well. So I love hers. I've kind of treated him as matchup dependent. He doesn't go deep like these other aces, but he's not getting blown up and he's getting strikeouts. That's way more than we can ask for a lot of other pitchers right now.
Yeah.
I'm just going to group these two together if you have any thoughts. Osvaldo Bido, he's supposed to come back and have a 2-step next week, but we've heard he's supposed to have about 3 2-steps in the last month. We haven't seen any of them. And then JT Ginn, who, we streamed last week against the White Sox. That was not ideal. No. And he has Yankees and Texas. I think I'm passing on both.
I'm passing on both too. I think with Bido, we just don't know if he's going to even make the starts, and so you can't really go with that. And yeah, JT Ginn, whatever. I needed some gin after I watched that. It wasn't quite Detmers against the White Sox, but it was very disappointing. So I dropped JT Gin in my 15 teamers this week, and yeah, I picked him up for the matchup. It didn't work out, and so you're not gonna roll with it.
Zebby Matthews, we kind of talked about him on the last Fab period. We both kind of moved on there, I believe. So,
dude, he was God, it pissed me off because I rolled with him this week. Went 4 2/3, was 1 out away from the win, but Minnesota did he had 5 Ks, 1 walk, looked pretty good. Zebby Matthews, you could tell I'm like sweating out by watching all these games of guys I'm streaming, but Zebby Matthews looked good, and he went, I think, like mid-70s pitch count. So again, unlikely to get a win, like might go 5, but yeah, damn, man, 1 out away from a win tonight.
So close. Davis Martin wasn't horrible, wasn't great versus the Angels tonight. He has a potential 2-step next week. 16% K to walk, 13% swinging strike, 36% ball rate. These are the kind of decisions we get to make for the final week of the season, Ryan.
Yeah,
I'm out on any White Sox pitcher, essentially. That's just my motto of late. But they are 2 pretty fun matchups.
Yep, they are 2 pretty fun matchups. I don't think you're getting wins despite the red hot White Sox, or I guess white hot White Sox. I don't know. I don't think I can roll with Davis Martin has pitched pretty well lately, as seen by the 16% K to walk, 13% swinging strike. But I guess the Angels, the 2-step isn't bad. So in a 15-teamer, if you do it, just don't watch. Don't watch.
This is a 2-step I'd much rather take a chance at. His name is Mitch Spence. Over the last 30 days, 16% K to walk, 11% swinging strike, 36% ball. On Tuesday night, 5 innings, 2 runs, 6 Ks against the Cubbies, which is pretty impressive. Did give up 7 hits, but navigated. And over the 4 starts prior to that, 2 runs or less in every start, 16 Ks in 21 2/3 innings. Gets Texas and gets Seattle, 2 of the more favorable matchups on the diamond, Ryan. So is Mitch Spence a guy you might be looking forward to for your championship weeks?
Yeah, sure. Why not? You get the 2 starts, good matchups. I'd take him over Davis Martin, and he is 24% owned in Fantrax as opposed to Martin's 12. But like Mitch Spence is about the same as JT Ginn, and I'd much rather take Mitch Spence next week.
Yep, that's totally on par there. Joey Estes, his teammate. I'm just going to move on because that Yankee start I want nothing to do with.
Ooh, no. And Joey Estes got torched,
yeah,
I think yesterday or today. So.
Yep, yesterday by the Cubs. So, yeah.
Yep.
Albert Suarez went full Albert
Your
Suarez.
boy.
Giants gets Detroit this Sunday, though. Minnesota next Saturday. It's like he keeps getting these nice matchups like sat in front of him, and he continues to just implode.
So earlier, remember how I said like we should listen to Bubba? Do not listen to, but do the opposite of what Bubba says with Albert Suarez for the final week, because 100%. Both you and Ben are have been whipsawed by Albert Suarez and his good and bad outings. So,
yep,
I'm just giving you a little.
Oh, it's totally fair.
Elbow.
It's totally fair. I get it as well. All right, I'm not going to talk about Chris Flexen.
What about my guy Feltner? 2 at Coors the last week of the season.
Do you want it?
No.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Colby Allard is on this list. He would intrigue me, but it sounds like they might actually be moving back to Taijuan Walker on Thursday. So keep an eye on that one. Thompson, the manager, says, I liked what we saw from Walker out of the bullpen of late. So they're going to put him back in the rotation.
So maybe leave him in the bullpen.
Yeah, that's kind of where my head was at.
Either way, I don't want any part of Allard, nor do I want Taijuan Walker, nor do I want what's the guy's name? Tyler Phillips, if he were to ever come back. So yeah, we're avoiding Philadelphia Phillies 5th starters.
Stephen Crawford says here, lots of good streams available tomorrow in my league. Again, a 10-team league, so remember that. But Schwelly, Hers, Bradford, and Marsh are all available. How is Schwellenbach even in a 10-teamer available? That's
wild.
If you're still playing, Stephen, hop on that.
Yeah, I don't think we're overrating Schwelly.
No, we're not. It's Yahoo's, man. It's just Yahoo.
Yeah. That's the move.
That's the way of the world.
Ryan Feltner did shut down the D-backs tonight in Coors. Again, this is last 2 weeks of baseball and really the whole season. It's just trying to predict, as a DFS, it's just crazy stuff happens. But
yep,
no, I would not recommend Feltner next week still.
All right, we're going to go over Falter, Freeland, and now we're going to guys with less than 10% K to walks, which that already pretty much crosses them off my list to begin with. But I'll get your thoughts on a couple here. I'm going to keep my biasy out of the way for now. Landon Roop of the Giants has been actually serviceable of late. He gets you're happy when he goes 5. That's what he's been able to do of late. Not getting blown up, and he gets Kansas City and then St. Louis. Any excitement from that?
No.
That's fair.
No, not really. I wouldn't go here. I would not.
All right. I was gonna say easy. Anybody else on this list you're interested in?
Yeah. So like, what about Kader Montero is one who pull up his last few. Like he has been a savior, but even when Kader Montero, even during his hot streak, the skills are just not there for him. So really has gone his last two. Kader Montero's last 2 starts, 14 innings, shutout ball. Had the complete game shutout against the Road Rockies on September 10th, 5 Ks, no walks. And then versus Baltimore, 5 scoreless, 1 walk, 1 strikeout. Like this is just, I think, total luck. And this is why Montero, though he's 25% rostered in Fantrax, like the skills look really bad. Like just doesn't miss bats, doesn't get strikeouts. The thing is, it's Tampa and the White Sox. There's a 2-step over the last week of the season. So it's just like he's not this good. The skills aren't good, but the matchups are good. I think if you're digging real deep, Kader Montero is an option, but God, I'd still take like Mitch Spence over Kader Montero.
Yeah, Montero's got to be deep leagues, and you're just desperate. Like the matchups are amazing, but this is the kind of guy that he might throw 2 good starts. He could also give up 12 earned runs in 4 innings next week and just blow it all apart.
So. It's nice to see Bo Brewski back. We've got Jin and Brewski, so that's a good combo for these last couple of weeks.
And then a Kokonowitz.
Yeah. Would you start that guy, Kohanowitz?
Nope.
Dude, it's double White Sox.
Nope.
I don't think so either. I can't. You got to be real desperate for Kohanowitz in that last week of the season. Just basically the same number of Ks as walks over the last month. Had some like wild quality start streak to start his major league season, but no, I don't think you're going there.
Yeah, so these are just some deep stream options. We'll talk about some other guys on Thursday that aren't on this list that might be available in your leagues as well. But let's move to hitters, Ryan. Let's move to hitters where because the end of the pitchers chart was a bit depressing there. But we'll talk some hitters and have some fun in this regard. And as Ryan pulls up the chart, because he's a pro, look at that. Here we are. He's going to zoom it around and Yahtzee that thing. I'm going to get rid of the, this is all the behind the scenes stuff here.
This is a lot of names, but whatever.
Yeah, this is a lot of names. We're not going to go over them all, folks. But what are we looking at here before we get started?
Yeah, so a similar thing on the pitchers or on the hitter side. We do have their position listed, Fantrax ownership, and then over the last 30 days, strikeout rate, barrel rate, and number of stolen base attempts. So again, categories are absolutely everything at this stage. There are some stolen base guys available, even Victor Robles, who's trying to do the Lord's work by getting by stealing home on a 3-0 pitch with the bases loaded. I respect it, but you can kind of look at this grid and see where there are power sources, where there might be batting average guys, and then where there might be steal guys. And what we will hopefully attempt to do is try and paint some playing time, team context on top of that for some of these names.
All right. Pavin Smith was a popular name this past week, going to the Coors, hitting well, all the righties on tap. Starting Wednesday, 8 of the last 11 games for the D-backs projected to face right-handed pitching. Yep. Pavin Smith has not done anything in Colorado thus far, but he could be a guy if you need some pop, that's for sure.
Yep, agreed. And so we'll, that last week, it's all righties this week outside of Gomber on Wednesday. But then, like you said, 8 of 11. So we'll get 2 lefties that last week of the season, Martin Perez and maybe Robbie Ray. Again, will Robbie Ray
what
throw?
Robbie Ray's doing? I have no idea. That's
exactly.
bizarro world.
Still a right-handed heavy tilt if you need power. I think Pavin Smith, even though like this 20% barrel rate looks Oregon Duck green, and it is, even though that all happened basically because of one game, he is making pretty consistent hard contact and has pretty much the best barrel rate on this list, and thus the best home run potential. And again, should play against right-handed pitching.
Yep, completely agree. I want to mention John Singleton. They got 3 lefties coming up in a row here, which is not ideal, but next week, 5 out of 6 matchups versus right-handed pitching, and Singleton's actually been swinging it pretty well, at least in September. You mentioned the barrel rate from Smith. Singleton's 21% barrel rate is the best on this chart.
Yep.
So is that a guy that gets you interested? Because every time I look at him all season long, I'm like, yeah, I don't know about that, but yeah, he's producing a bit right now.
Yeah. I mean, it's again, it's all like if I have like, I don't know, I'm trying to think like Justin Turner at corner and I need power, I'm taking Singleton over Justin Turner. I'm trying to think of just some low power guys, because Singleton along with Pavin Smith, that is the power, and the playing time should be like who else is Houston going to play against right-handed pitching? So Singleton, for like as crazy as that sounds, you never know. He's been making hard contact lately, and you never know if he runs into a couple in the final week of the season. Crazier things have happened.
Yep, crazier things have happened. Luke Raley went deep again tonight. I'm just going to throw this out there. A lot of lefties on the schedule remaining for Luke Raley, so I'm not sure how much you're going to see of him.
Yep.
Zach McKinstry has actually been playing very well and playing all over the diamond, Ryan. Not a big barrel guy, but doesn't strike out a ton, steals some bags. What are your thoughts on Zach McKinstry, maybe at least in deeper formats?
Yeah, and qualifies everywhere, which I think is big, because what I'm starting to do on a lot of my teams is like compile starting pitching for this last week and then make a start-sit decision on my starters, because I need so many. I know I'm probably not going to start. There's going to be guys that kind of fall out just because I don't think they're going to go the full 5 or whatever. But basically, I'm rostering a lot more pitchers than I am hitters right now. To have someone like Zach McKinstry, who is at least going to play and making contact lately, running a little bit, 7 stolen base attempts over the last month, 11% strikeout rate. That is a useful piece to have if you are stacking starting pitching, if you're bunched in those categories. And that's kind of where I'm at. So like I've got Whit Merrifield on some of my teams. That's kind of like my Zach McKinstry, but McKinstry's at least someone who can play and you can fill in somewhere where you need plate appearances.
And with Ozzie Albies coming back this weekend, who knows what Whit Merrifield gets to do after that. The one thing I will mention, and I will mention this again on Thursday and probably go deeper into it. If you're in a weekly league next week and you start 7 pitchers, only have 7 pitchers on your roster. That's all I'm going to suggest. Have as many bench bats as you can have, because then you can move those in on Friday. Like, you can't do anything with bench pitchers at all. So, just a thought.
Yeah. But it's hard to plan for that, because I'm going to have more than that, because Fab runs Sunday night and I don't know who's going to be like. I want to have maybe a couple extra in case someone gets scratched or they announce that last week that, hey, this guy's only going to go a few innings. So I don't know.
That's fair.
But no, your point is like spot on in that, like, if you're not using somebody the last week, there's no reason to keep them around. Yes. So I get it.
Victor Robles has been a beast, somehow under rostered still, but did leave it once again in the first after he got hit by a pitch in the first. He's like day to day every other day, it feels like. So just keep that in mind with Victor Robles, but I still roster him. I have shares of him everywhere right now. Yeah. Jose Tena, I have lots of shares of Jose Tena. What are your thoughts on him? Because he's been awesome since getting called up.
Uncle Ted's boy. The skills look great. Average K rate, above average barrels, and is running a little bit. Third base shortstop helps. And last but not least, Washington is giving this guy extended run because they want to see what they have for next year and just get him MLB reps. And for fantasy, that's very important to know. Even for a team that's not in the race, Washington is playing Jose Tena every day, and they should. And so the plate appearances are going to be there for him.
Talk about a guy playing every day. Trey Sweeney has taken over the shortstop role for the Detroit Tigers. You mentioned him a couple weeks ago in Fab. The barrel rate's very good. His average is slowly creeping up. It was really rough early. Runs a little bit. Is this a guy that would interest you? We already talked, some other middle infield options coming back from the IL or this, that, and the other. we mentioned Bo Bichette, and there's two guys like Trey Sweeney and everything you get for a lot cheaper. Is Sweeney on your radar for these final, week and a half?
Yeah, man. It's on my radar last week or a couple weeks ago. And yeah, he's been strong, 23% in fan tracks. So like we talked about Acuna earlier. I don't know which other middle infielder we talked about, but I would take Trey Sweeney over Acuna and the guy I can't remember his name, which I know is not the most useful advice out there. Who else did we talk about?
When it comes to middle infield, I don't think we actually talked about
Nick
that.
York.
Hey, Nick York. Yeah, let me pull out my paper here. And I'll
pull out your sheets there.
I would take York. Yes.
I would take Trey Sweeney over Nick York.
That's a tough one, but what about Acuna?
Yeah.
Okay.
Again, just because playing time, like I mean, I don't know if
any relation to Sydney.
I don't know. Is he from Spokane? Should check.
Wait, Sydney Sweeney's from Spokane?
Mm-hmm.
Like your backyard?
Mm-hmm.
God, the girl next door, Ryan Bloomfield. That's impressive stuff right there.
I live about 6 hours away from Spokane, but sure, we'll go with that. Yeah, she's from Spokane.
I claim that. Just want to throw Alejandro Kirk's name in there while Ryan's Googling the Sweeney family heritage.
I am. This is Trey Sweeney is from Louisville, Kentucky. So
they're cousins. Alejandro Kirk is a guy I've mentioned when Del Castillo was slowing down. He's not a bad catcher too for the final week. He's actually hitting very well. So, and he's available all over the place. So I wouldn't completely ignore Alejandro Kirk. Is what I'm trying to say.
Yep, agreed.
Miguel Rojas is still playing pretty regularly if you need multi-position. Addison Barger is getting more love. We talked about him on the last week's show. If the Jays face enough right-handed pitching, Will Wagner just got put on the IL on Tuesday when Bichette came.
He did?
Yeah, when Bichette came back, Wagner was the corresponding move to go to the IL. And if we look at Toronto right now,
it's all right-handers. It's all 6.
Yeah, all next week's all righty. So that's a good week for Addison Barger.
Yeah, and really even this weekend, the only lefty they faced, Tyler Alexander, who probably won't go 5. I mean, that's your boy, but probably won't go 5. After that, it's all righties, again, scheduled the rest of the way. So, yeah, I think Addison Barger is certainly a decent pickup, and third short outfield is, again, having that flexibility so you don't have to have so many hitter spots is, could be huge.
Another middle infield option, if we haven't heard enough of them tonight, Otto Lopez. He's back. He went deep on Tuesday night, the 6th of the year, playing every day. Gets all righties next week. Decent matchups this week.
Yep.
Where does he rate in your list of middle infielders? Like over Trey Sweeney?
He ranks above Sydney's brother and thus over every other middle infielder. Like I don't know, Barger versus Lopez. That's
close.
Those are close. Both, I'd take whichever one, I'd put them both in my fab thing, and whichever one falls to me, I'd be happy with either one because both are going to play a bunch, and they're both at least showing decent skills. Barger doesn't run. Otto Lopez has 6 stolen base attempts, so maybe that's your kind of deciding factor where you're at in steals.
My tiebreakers: Power, Barger, steals, Lopez. Kind of where I'd be leaning in that one.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because this week is all about what your team needs, not so much about the actual player, folks. Yep. So,
and playing
like Ryan said with John Singleton earlier, you're strictly getting him for power is what you're looking for. So, Barger, Lopez, 2 pretty good options right there for sure. Johnny DeLuca is still undervalued, like I've raved about him before.
That's your guy, yeah. 10 stolen base attempts. I didn't realize he was that much of a stolen base guy. I don't think, but
he's playing so good right now.
Outside of Victor Robles, Johnny DeLuca has the most stolen base attempts of anyone under 50% rostered on Fantrax, and he's only 27% rostered. So, and he's playing righty or lefty, right?
Yeah, he's playing pretty much every day. So, nothing to worry about there. And I know he was less than 60% in the OCs because I wrote him up this past week. He's still 37% rostered in OCs. So, he's widely available for your listening pleasure. I was just looking in chat. All right. I'm taking
your guy, Benintendi? Is this where we're going?
Okay. Yes, where I'm going. So if anybody listens to the First Pitch podcast, I kind of apologized last night to Andrew Benintendi on the show because he double donged on Monday. And if you go back for like a month, he's hitting almost 340, with like I think 6 homers, and like it's ridiculous. He looks like a real base. He has 19 home runs this season, Ryan.
That was
19.
when I listened to
19
your
home
first
runs.
pitch podcast, I was like, what? When you said that?
Yeah. He is producing on a regular basis right now. It's not just like a week straight. It's at least a month right now. This guy, in my opinion, needs to be rostered the final week of the year. Needs to be. If you're in a daily league, I'd pick him up now. Probably. Well, obviously depends on your team, but Benintendi should be playing way more than 39% of Fantrax leagues.
And you want to talk about playing time. I mean, yes, it's the White Sox, but this is someone who's hitting third every single day in between Luis Robert, Andrew Vaughn, Gavin Sheets, who have at least done something lately. And really, again, these last 2 weeks, like I'm much more likely to just ride the hot hand and see if they can continue their hot streak for another 10 days or whatever. So yeah, Benintendi, like as much as I want to throw up in my mouth when I say this, but I think he's a decent spec over the last 10 days. Playing time is going to be there, and he's hot. I mean, what more can you ask for?
Yeah, you have 39% in Fantrax. He's 16% in OCs right now, rostered. And it's not just the average and the power. Dude's not striking out, and he's walking like 14%. He's doing everything right. It's disgusting.
To be clear, in a month from now, when we're drafting holds, what round are you considering Andrew Benintendi for 2025?
I'm going to say this much. I'm not forcing the Benintendi pick, but I'm not walking straight past it like I have in years past. Because in DCs, and we'll have our DC strategy show, just a guy with that bats is tremendous off your bench. And Benintendi's going to have that. I don't see that changing next year. He's the highest paid player on the team.
In the history of the team.
Yeah. So, like, he's going to play. It's as bad as it gets. So it's wild when I looked into that last night. So I'm gonna throw Jesus Sanchez out there, 5 for 5 on Tuesday.
Jesus, that's right.
Boys heating up again for us, man. The kind of unofficial second mascot starting to heat up again. So I think it's time to jump back on the Jesus train to finish out the season.
It was never time to jump off. It was never time to jump off.
To park it. Just time to park it maybe for a little bit.
Yeah, take a little rest in the caboose. No, Jesus. Jesus, yeah, he's back, man. We're back.
Back.
And I think he's playing. Well, look, hold on a sec.
He's playing against lefties also. He is. He's
most of the time. And Miami did have a stretch. They faced 5 lefties in a row before, I believe, Tuesday night. And lefties, the remaining stretch is only Max Fried. It's all right-handed pitchers for Miami from here on out, outside of Saturday's date with Max Fried. So that just further supports our guy Jesus.
It's going to be a Stream the Marlins week coming up. It's going to be that time of the year, folks. Get ready for it. I'm just going to throw this out there. Not going to go deep. Mike Yastrzemski went deep again on Tuesday night. Dude's like he's no Benintendi, but he's playing pretty well. So I'd make sure to remedy that one. Garrett Mitchell, he's playing great, and he's starting versus righties of late over the last 30 days. 29% K rate, but 11% barrels, 6 stolen base attempts. Power starting to show up. You got anything on Garrett Mitchell?
Even playing, so he didn't start Monday against the lefty, but did start last Friday against the lefty. So has started 5 of the last 6. Middle of the Brewers order. Some speed. I like Garrett Mitchell. He's playing more, and he should.
Yep, totally agree with you on that. You mentioned Bader as a potential guy with all the lefties this week. If there's no lefties, I want nothing to do with Harrison Bader.
Yeah, let's see. We've got the lefties the last week of the season. It's all righties except Chris Sale.
Yep, pass.
So that's tough.
I'm going to mention Seth Brown because we've talked about him a lot based on matchups for Oakland. It's been pretty favorable of late. The final week of the year, it's 5 righties and the 6 games. So Seth Brown could be another power streaming bet for him.
Yes. With where the hell is he? Does it say with some speed? Has he
a little bit? Yes, anything? A little bit.
There he is. No, yeah, he just has 1 stolen base attempt. Actually, I like Seth Brown more than like Pavin Smith, John Singleton.
I agree.
He's just more well-rounded.
Yep.
If you need power only, I'd go Singleton, then Smith, and then Brown. But I think if again with hitters, it's not a lot of really stolen bases. Kind of your standalone category. A lot of times you still need like all 4 in counting stats. So I'd still lean Seth Brown in a vacuum over those other 2 first basemen.
Well, and the thing with Brown compared to Pavin Smith and Singleton, we know Brown's going to play versus righties. We know he is. Singleton and Smith should, but those teams also have other options. The A's do not. It is Seth Brown's position to play type situation. Now Soderstrom's back, but Brown can slide to the outfield. He's not going anywhere in that one.
Yep.
Joey Bart's still out there. He's kind of slowed down a little bit, but I still love the potential. Like out of all the catchers on the wire, if anybody could get you 3 home runs in the final week, Joey Bart could be that guy. So he's definitely someone to take a look at. Any interest in Dylan Moore if you need steals? He has 9 stolen base attempts over the last month.
That's pretty much it if you need steals. However, he has 1 start in the last 6. So like it's going to cost you everywhere except for steals. And just be mindful of that, not to overreact to one category. That said, last week of the season, Seattle they get Andrew Heaney on Sunday, lefty.
Lefties,
They get Framber Valdez on Tuesday, lefty. Kikuchi, lefty on Wednesday. JP Sears, lefty on Friday. So you might get like 4 starts the rest of the season from Dylan Moore. And so that, does have power, does have speed, just doesn't have playing time and strikes out a lot. So be mindful of your batting average. But given the lefty tilt for Seattle the last week of the season, you could do worse, I think, than Dylan Moore.
Yep. I'm with you on that one. Jake Fraley, big week in Cincinnati this week, on the road next week. Not sure if I want to go to the well on the road for Jake Fraley, but he has been hitting better of late. I'll say that much.
Yeah, slightly better of late. It was real bad for Jake Fraley for a while there, but still just a 7% barrel rate over the last month. Like it's not great, and he's not running either. So yeah, I don't know.
A name I want to throw out there because we can't get enough middle infield talk is Brian Rocchio in your deepest of leagues. Like he hasn't been great, but he's playing every day for Cleveland. Cleveland's putting up runs. They're fighting to hang on, and they're not fighting, but they're trying to hang on to the Central. And it's a guy that doesn't strike out a lot, will run a little bit. So if you're in a deeper format, like say you don't get any of the guys we've mentioned, do you have any interest in Brian Rocchio?
He'd be like my last dollar type of guy.
Yeah.
Kind of actually draft and hold legend for me right now. Like I don't have
same hands up on that one.
Yeah. Yep. Like the guy is playing every day, and that a lot of us can't field draft and hold lineups right now. And Brian Rocchio is at least filling a need and doing it somewhat productively.
He's playing for Francisco Lindor in someone's mind right now. Like, so it's like that's the reality of the situation.
I didn't know you were on the Rocchio. I have no idea what round we drafted it in, but
he was like my 4th shortstop in a lot of leagues. I'm taking chances here. He's going to play every day. It's the whole theory we said. Every day at bats, late in a DC, I'm in. Like, sign me up. On those scenarios. Bo Naylor's showing signs of life and also falls asleep for a little bit. So just kind of throw that out there. As you
Bo Naylor or Alejandro Kirk.
If you want power, Naylor. If you want batting average, Kirk.
Yeah.
If you want power, speed, Naylor. Like he does both. If you just want a batting average, maybe score some runs, you want Kirk. So
yeah,
that's the difference there. Then after that, anybody that interests you, you have Arcia, Gamels. Dude, we didn't even talk about that.
We got it. Yeah, we
talk about this. So the Astros strike again, my friend. Knee contusion turned, fractured fibula, but this one only took 3 days to figure out, at least not 3.5 months. But what is going on in Houston?
Just unbelievable on the heels. I think they need a new X-ray machine, man.
Something. Like holy shnikes!
Right on the heels of the Kyle Tucker thing, this comes out. The Gambles fractured his fibula. I shouldn't laugh at someone breaking his leg, but God, that's just a brutal look for Houston.
That's a rough one. Joey Gallo, Wade, Gonzalez, your boy Mount Massey's down here.
Yeah, what's this guy doing?
Nothing.
Kind of rough lately. Yeah.
Nothing.
Dude, I think he homered the other day. Mount Massey's. I'm still playing the guy.
Yeah, he homers and then goes 0 for 12.
Apparently, according to this sheet here. Actually, I mean, the K rate's not bad for Massey. Come on.
He still hits cleanup every game.
I know. Weird. Maybe I just like Massey more than I should. Looking.
No, he's a good ball player. I like him too, but every time I write my weekly fab, I have to temper to my expectations. Going, wait, there's probably better middle infield options this week.
Yeah. What? Nick Gonzalez is right next to him. He's kind kind of as unproductive as Mount Massey.
Jacob Young's down there if he needs steals. He hit safely in 5 straight games before going over on Tuesday night. Steals plenty of 32 steals on the year, so that could be a dude for you.
It could, and I believe playing every day, if I'm not
pretty much, yeah.
I'm mistaken. Right even now. Though it is 9th, like it is playing time, and Washington, as we know, can run. I would actually say of anybody on this list, maybe outside of Victor Robles, who is like 46% rostered in Fantrax, Jacob Young's probably your best bet for steals, either him or your boy DeLuca.
Yeah, I like DeLuca's matchups better than Young, but because like and it depends. Like on the final week, Young gets Reagans, Lorenzen, Waka. Okay, so what some good stuff there. But then Ranger Suarez, Zach Wheeler, Aaron Nola. For how long in those games? We don't know.
Right.
You don't know. But still, you imagine they go 4 innings, 5 innings maybe each. Depends. Because especially if the Phillies somehow get that first round bye, they're throwing these guys at least 5.
No. Zach Wheeler's not pitching Saturday. I can't. Well, maybe he will.
Maybe Kobe Allard pitches Saturday and Jacob Young's even better now.
Are the Phillies getting a bye? Yeah.
I don't know if they are yet. With the Braves lead keeps shrinking. I know that much.
If they don't get a bye, there's no way Wheeler's pitching Saturday. But I don't know. We'll talk about this a little bit more on
Thursday.
Oh yeah, the Phillies are getting a bye. They have the best record in the National League.
Oh, there you go.
Maybe Wheeler does and an 8-game lead on the Mets. Funny how I'm so ingrained in fantasy. I finally pull up standings and
you and me both.
The Phillies. So Wheeler probably does pitch Saturday because he'd be on schedule for missing those 3 games in the wild card round.
Because we've seen how long the week off has hurt some of these bye week teams of late. So I think they're going to want to throw them out there. Plus, you want to throw them out there for that runner up in the Cy Young thing too. So you've got that going for them.
Good point. It's a good point.
All right. Any other players you want to discuss here? I think we hit most of the key ones. We hit probably more than we thought we were going to hit throughout this period, but a fun list of potential stream. And we'll piggyback off of this on Thursday night, of course. But for you in daily leagues, this gets you going for sure. And if you want to start prepping for Sunday, this is a good starting point.
Yep, exactly. So that was kind of the point of tonight's episode. Again, we do not know how these guys are going to do over the last 2 weeks. That is our disclaimer. We can just speculate on playing time and maybe some categories and kind of use those two and in tandem and try and make it work as best you can. But certainly hope this helps some of you daily leaguers and get ready for Fab on Thursday night with our final Fab epised. Can't believe we're there already. Although
that felt good to say. All right, we got a couple listener questions here though before we get this.
Oh yeah, we did. That's right.
Our buddy BPF Futures _bets. He says I have Jesus Sanchez for $11 in an NL only keeper, and Trevor Larnach for $2 in a mixed league keeper. Are they both keeper material? Thanks as always. What are your thoughts? I kind of got mixed opinions on this.
It sounds about right in terms of prices. I would probably not keep Trevor Larnach at $2 in a mixed league just because you could probably get him for $1 or $2 in the auction anyway. Even if it's a 15-team mixed league. Jesus Sanchez in an NL only at 11, I could see keeping him. It's not like a slam dunk for sure, but NL only, once you start getting single digits on some of those guys, it's guys who don't play. So we are firm Jesus supporters here on the show. So I could see keeping him at 11 and NL only, but again, not a slam dunk depending on what other options you have there.
Completely agree with you. And the NL only Jesus, I'm cool with that because other options could be pretty bleak. Larnach, you might get him in the reserve rounds for free.
Right.
I do like Trevor Larnach, but you could probably use that $2 elsewhere.
And it's someone you're going to stream throughout the year anyway. So I don't know. Yeah, I wouldn't do it.
Rodney Leonard 17 says better streaming option: Fede versus Pittsburgh, Povich versus Detroit. Did you pay for this? Or Civale versus Arizona?
Dude, so when's your mea culpa here with Civale, by the way?
That was last night's first pitch. Benintendi and Civale. I basically confessed on both of them. So for anybody so like we always say on the show, we own our L's. I own 2 in one 10-minute show. So like it was for the world to listen to if you wanted it.
Yeah.
And I text Ryan too. I said, "Hey, dude, I'm looking at these numbers right now, and Saivali's been pretty good for like the last 7 starts."
He has. Arizona still scares the crap out of me even after
How
being
many times
shut
did you
down.
start him though?
I don't.
Okay, I just want to throw that out there since you're
0.
bury
Yes,
me.
I know. I get excited when Saivali comes back. So
I get text messages from Ryan every time he pitches well, and then I'm like, how did he do on your roster? He's not on my roster anymore.
hey man, anytime I can poke the bear, I try.
Yep.
What was it? So it's Fetty versus Pittsburgh, Saivali versus Arizona, and who?
And Povich versus Detroit.
I'd probably go Fetty.
It's Fetty. As good as Saivali's pitched, I'm not messing with Arizona, man. I know they're getting shut down in Colorado. I am not messing with Arizona.
I'm not either. They're just too good. That scares the crap. That could be a 8 earned run outing pretty quickly for my guy.
So as well as Saivali's probably pitching the best out of those 3 guys right now, but I'm not messing with Arizona.
Yeah.
Not happening.
Yeah.
And then our buddy Stephen Crawford, who's in the chat, also says, "Don't look now, but Davis Schneider is heating up for the Blue Jays. Home run in 3 straight games, 9 RBIs in the past 7." When I got this tweet from Steven, I went and started looking it up. He went deep on Tuesday. Schneider's starting to swing it, man. He's going to just reel me back in. I can already see it coming.
Yeah, and playing against same side pitching each of the last 3 games because he's homered. So yeah, that's I did not realize that, but David Schneider is on fire right now and playing. So to continue along that theme, I don't know what Schneider's Fantrax ownership is, but I would reckon it's pretty low.
I reckon you are correct because in OCs it's 19%.
Yeah, so widely available and second outfield, I believe. So
I can look that up for you again. I just erased him. He is at second outfield. He nailed it. So
every now and then.
Yep. So that could be a fun one as well, especially with that schedule we talked about for Toronto, the final week of the year. Doesn't matter. He's playing every day anyways, but he mashes lefties. They're playing a lot of righties, but if he's playing, and at-bats are king.
Yep.
All right, Ryan, we're going to wrap it up there. Come back on Thursday with some more fab. I know you wrapped up final thoughts with the boards, but anything else you want to throw to the listeners before we head out of here?
Go Bobby Miller. That's all I got.
Dude, that's
Did Bobby Miller pull? Oh no, Feltner is on the Rockies. I don't know. What's your take? What's your take on Bobby Miller Road Rockies this weekend? Does he go 3 innings?
I think he might have to, based on the way the pitching's going lately for the Dodgers. And it might be a bad thing if he goes 3 innings.
Oh, he only went 2 tonight because he had 65 pitches. So, God, it's brutal.
It's brutal. Really brutal.
Good luck. Yeah, my final thought is good luck and try not to follow live scoring as much as I have been over the last couple of days. It's not good for you.
You're not alone. I've been getting texts from Ben. Like anybody that's in a chance to win, you guys are. I'm just fortunate. This is where the single dad life keeps me away from the track. And when I got,
you're a lot. You're a lot better at not like getting sucked into this stuff.
I keep myself on my schedule. I've done it since opening day. When everything's done, I close the computer and I go and look at my phone when I get into bed. That's when I check my standings every day. I've stuck with it so far. That might change next week. It might change next week. We'll see. But so far, so good in that one. Yeah. But good luck, everybody. Again, we'll be back with you guys Thursday night to do your final fab preview of the season. If you guys have any more questions to help you guys get to the finish line, make sure to bring them our ways. We'll keep answering them for you and help you guys out. But until then, check out Ryan on Twitter at RyanBHQ, the podcast at Bubba Bloom Pod, and I am at BDintric. But for now, this is Bubba and the Bloom, episode 170. Catch y'all later.